Hello, hello. Good morning. I come to you with my trusty cup of tea, and we are here together to talk about the last two of 12, the Code of Principles for Sacred Healing. What we're going to be talking about is in the description box, so you can lift that if you'd like. If we have not yet met, I am Laurie Morse, a 30-year practitioner of Chinese medicine and the founder and director of the Sacred Health Academy, where we work with women who have tried just about everything to heal, and she knows she has to kind of include her sacred self, but she's not really sure how to do that. So, walking this path of creating sacred health is a real thing, and it's actually the most potent way to heal. So I'll just kind of leave it at that, if you will. So let's talk about number 11. So number 11 of the code, the 12 code of principles for sacred healing, is that health, empowerment, abundance, and love are natural expressions of a mind aligned with truth, spirit, and love. Now, if you were to write out health, empowerment, abundance, and love, the first letter of each of those words is an acronym for HEAL. And it's an acronym that dropped in from Spirit, at least 20 years ago. And I love it. I've loved it ever since because it keeps me really righted, like centered in all that is available to us if we give ourselves permission to explore and cultivate this relationship with our higher selves so that our health can express, our empowerment is available to us in safe ways, not scary ways, abundance and good. So this is abundance of all things, friendships, love, resources, money, all, right work, all the things. I include that under the umbrella of abundance. And of course, love. And not necessarily the kind of fantasy movie love we're talking about. I'm talking about a love that is beyond the human mind's capacity to really grasp, because all we know is what we've lived, and what we've heard from our history, which is more of a romantic, or kind of fantastical. I'm talking about a version of love that is the entire fabric of the universe. And I've said that before, but I can't stop saying it because the mind learns by repetition, and we need to sort of like layer this in that, if this is how I have done it over the years anyway, if the entire fabric of the universe is love, so this is, some people call this the unified field or the quantum field, and if every particle of that field is love, and I am part of that field, then I too am that, as are you, right? So we kind of have to break these things down so the mind can wrap itself around it and start sort of, chewing on it, if you will, so that it becomes sort of a more natural understanding, I guess. So, and we've said before in some of the earlier principles that there's nothing honestly or truly to heal, but only to reveal. And let's just unpack that for a minute. If our higher presence, which is part of our anatomy, it's just as much part of our anatomy as our arms and legs. We just haven't given it a lot of attention in our, in our historical experience as human beings. But we're moving into this conscious connection, right? Like this is where humanity is at. We're moving away from just being a Homo sapien, which is what we've done for lots of eons of time, into Homo spiritus, where we're human and divine, right? Like we hear this expression where spiritual beings, having a human experience, but we don't really like get what that means unless we sit with it for a long time and contemplate and then feel it in our body. We have to embody all of these principles. Otherwise, if they're only in our head, if they're only sort of intellectual concepts, we don't own them, right? They have to be both in our head and our heart and our body. So the bottom line, what needs healing is our misperception and our disconnection, right? That's actually the easiest thing to heal, because we can just take our days and we can connect on the regular, and that connection alone will teach us everything we need to know. It will drop in truth. It will drop in revelations, if you will. It will dissolve and dissipate the error thinking, the beliefs that we've had, the programming that we've been exposed to. When we drop in, in a physical life, we're there's a barrage of cultural and uh, religious and all kinds of programming that isn't necessarily the whole truth, right? Remember that show, The Whole Truth and Nothing But the Truth, Please, Ma'am? What was that, Dragnet? I can't remember. Anyway, anyway, so what we do is we return all of these misperceptions and all of these misconceptions to love, just one thing at a time. As you notice it, you return it to love. And the Sacred Health Academy among teaching nutrition and all the boots on the ground, earth plane, physical things that we need. It teaches us how to take these steps over and over. Repetition being an important key, but said in multiple different ways. So at some point, the mind goes, "Oh, I get it. I get it. Okay, I actually am an extension of love. Every particle of my being is a particle of light, and light and love are inseparable." So that's like a yin and yang thing, right? They cannot be separated. Light carries love, and love nourishes light. So there's this, this continual inseparable dance that is happening right now as you're listening to these words, but you may not be aware of it, right? And so when we live in that loving, compassionate way with ourselves, what our higher in connection with our higher presence, what gets revealed. So this is the thing that we started out saying. There's nothing really to heal, but only to reveal. But what gets revealed when we live in that state is our true nature of health, which is coded in every cell of our being, empowerment, expression and ease, abundance and love. So, and this idea of empowerment is the opposite of the ego-driven power, right? That has branches of abuse and abdication. We've watched that play out on the world screen for way too long. That is shifting now. We're each discovering that really the true power, the only true power that exists on the planet is the power that sort of drops in through our connection with our higher presence. That's true power. When we have that kind of power in connection with our higher presence, we would never abuse, we would never abdicate, we would never desecrate life. We would revere life. We would operate from that kind, compassionate, loving place that we all wish most of us would be operating from, that we're not seeing as of yet. We will, though. We will, and it will happen probably sooner than you realize. So stay tuned. Try to feed your mind more of that kind of like hopeful expectation that that's coming down the pike, than the crushing feeling, a heartbreaking feeling of, oh my God, the world is going mad, that kind of thing. So spirit, our spirit, right? Like this higher presence that's our higher self or spirit or source or whatever word you like to put to it, is already infused. It is already the particles of empowerment and a joyful, ease-filled, peaceful, poised, playful, plentiful, abundant, creative, compassionate, confident, and loving experience. Our work is to accept that as us too, right? And that requires a connection with that part of ourselves on the regular. So that is the 11th principle: health, empowerment, abundance, and love, which is an acronym for HEAL. Those are natural expressions of us being aligned with our higher truth, our spirit self, with the fabric of the universe, which is love. Number 12 is returning your mind to love is what you are here for. Your prime directive, every human being's prime directive beyond keeping the species propagated, is a return to love. And it sounds fanciful, but it is actually the point of being here. And so I am constantly saying to myself and others when I'm in a conversation that involves this, is like, it's my job. It's my job to return the fears, the worries, the doubts, the anxieties, the lack, the limitation, the hesitation, the skepticism, the cynicism, the the irritations, the feelings of hate towards things that I think are wrong, all the judgments, all those things, when I notice them, that's why being present is a really important, sort of like precursor is the word I was looking for. We have to practice being present because otherwise we don't know these programs are running us, right? But when I notice it, I don't have to figure it out for anyone else. I don't have to figure it all out in one full sweep. I just have to notice what's going on in this moment. And when something of those sorts come up, I can say, oh, this is something that's if it's coming to my awareness, it's ready to be released. And I literally make my connection to a higher presence. And I mean, I do it any number of ways, but one example is I'll say, here's this judgment I have. It feels so overpowering, so overwhelming, so strong. Or here's this fear I have. I'm offering it to you. I'm surrendering it to you so that the energy of this energy that is taking up space in my mind, body, and life can be transformed by you and then replaced by the light and love that you are, that I am, that you are, right? That's one way that you can do it. It is tenacious, right? Because, when we're first starting out, it's like, whoa, there's like a tsunami of this kind of energy. But don't let that stop you. Request that everything happen in right and divine pacing for you, in right order, in a way that is, that keeps you in a centered place of peace, and that you just keep doing the work in an easeful way, doing the work, grace and ease. Call in grace and ease for all of this. I have done that. The signature for the shift of the ages that we're moving into is grace and ease. The prior signature that we're moving out of was suffering, right? Probably not that difficult to confirm. But we're the ones that have to activate grace and ease in our own hearts as we take this journey, as we create sacred health, because the idea of creating sacred health is way more than just having a healthy body. It is that too, right? But remember the acronym. It's health and vitality, it's empowerment, ease, expression, it's abundance and good for all good things, and it's love that is love amongst ourselves, but also a love that is that is greater than just the love amongst ourselves. So that's our job. That's my job. That's your job. If you're hearing these words, you're being called to do this as your job too. So, call forth this grace and ease, insist on a poise and a non-resistance to this work, and that love become more of the dominant force in your mind, body, and life, and trust that the true power, your true power, all of our true powers, the true power that we are, resides in this love that we must call into ourselves. There's a version of a magic and a genius in courage, the courage to keep doing this work, to keep calling forth your true nature, to keep connecting to your full anatomy, if you will. Courage, there's a word, it's a word in its root is cœur, a French word, and that means heart, right? So we must engage our heart. The connection point from our higher presence is our heart. This is why our heart is such a valuable center, obviously on the physical level, but on the non-physical, on the spiritual level, at the level of it being our altar, our sacred altar, a portal to the divine, a portal to truth, a portal to connecting to our full self, right? So everything you think you want is nothing more than a return to love. And that peels away all the grime and all the layers of misunderstandings that we have been living with, that not only in this life, but that we've brought in from our lineage and that we've carried on in our DNA, and that our DNA is ready to just sort of like throw off, like throwing off a cloak or something, or throwing off a blanket when it gets too hot, something like that. And I just feel like there was a point in time where I just thought, I just want to cut to the chase. I just want to do this work because this is the work. This is like the pivotal zero still point that gives me access to all the things I think I want. So I I might as well operate from that center point, if you will. And I'm inviting you to do the same, because you'll get way more out of your efforts, like your return on your efforts or your investment, as they say in business, ROI. You'll get way more out of it than if you try to figure out all the parts and figure out how to get what you think you want in these sort of separated ways. And here's what I know. You can do this. If you're alive on the planet today, no matter how unstable you feel, or wobbly, or filled with worry, or any of those things, no matter how much you think that's what's running you, and I get it, it might be, but you can walk yourself out of that. And I know, because I've done it, and others have done it too, in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And I have personally been a journeyer with them, so I've watched them go from wobbly to solid and stable, and maintain that and live from that and own it. And that's what I would like for you too. I know that you're ready, because if you're listening to these words, it means that you're ready, even if it may not feel like you are, and your time is now. So, also, I'm going to invite you to, there's a URL in the description, sacredhealthacademy.com. Or there's no the on it, just www.sacredhealthacademy.com. Go look at that information. It helps you to understand what if you were to become a student in the academy. It helps you to know exactly what you would be going through. All of the elements. We have to create relationships with all of the elements, because we are also one with them. Nobody teaches us how to do that, right? But learning, there's a lot to learn. But learning it just one step at a time with fellow like-hearted women like yourself, it makes it so much more precious. Oh, precious is a funny word. Special, maybe, doable, inspirational. Those are the things I hear. And also successful. Like, I know for myself, and this might be true for you too, I can only take myself on my own so far. And then, and if I get in that place, this is the spiritual ego who will say, "Oh, you're good. You're good. You know this stuff. You're good, right? You know you have a higher self." But the problem is if one is living in fear or worry, more than presence and access to peace and connection, then what they know doesn't matter. It's what they live. A link to click and take a short video, short tour. It's a video of a tour to go on the inside and just be shown what's in there, so you can get a feeling if it resonates for you. If it resonates, do it. Just do it. Say yes. And if you just know that it resonates, but it may not be your time, well, then just put it on a side burner and come back and visit it when it feels like you're ready. But don't put things like this off. We don't have the luxury anymore, in terms of just where the collective consciousness is. We don't have the luxury of pressing the snooze button. When the alarm rings, or when you get your call, or however you want to put those words, you gotta get up. You gotta say yes. You gotta rise up. You gotta get out. You gotta get up. And you gotta do your parts, right? Do your part. We need all hands on deck, and your hands are as important as mine and everyone else's. So I'm calling you to the deck, if you will. So go check out the Sacred Health Academy. Thank you for journeying with me through these 12 codes of principles of sacred health. And next week and the next following weeks, I have a surprise for you. I've written my second book called The Art of Returning to Love, How to Show Fear and Stress the Exit. And we're going to be doing a book club together, reading through that material, because it's so potent and powerful, and it will help you kind of open your mind and your heart, and it will help you in your healing and in your life. So try to, even if you can't be live, I know sometimes the live time isn't always convenient, but just try to watch the replays, always available on this page. And you'll also get the scoop on how to get your own book, so that you can have that for highlighting and whatever else is important to you when you read material that helps you grow. So, on that happy note, be well, be healthy, and we will see you next week.